I started hearing voices inside my head. Not thoughts, not imagination. It sounded like a room full of people behind the wall. And the worst part, they weren't talking to me. At least, not at first. This started about a year ago. I'm a writer, or at least I was. My name doesn't matter. I've had migraines for as long as I can remember. But a year ago, they changed. They became something else, something heavier. Sometimes the pain was so intense, I couldn't even open my eyes. I stopped going outside. I switched to living at night. Silence helped. Darkness helped. Nothing else did. Doctors gave me pills, lots of them. None of them fixed it. So I stayed in my apartment, alone, in the dark, trying not to move, because even breathing too sharply felt like it could make it worse. When the pain peaked, it felt like a church bell was ringing inside my skull, over and over and over again. I could hear my own pulse, my heartbeat, my blood, everything too low, too close. And then one night I heard something else. Something quiet, barely there. At first I thought it was outside. A car, a voice, a neighbor. But it wasn't. It didn't sound like it came from the room. It sounded like it came from behind something. Like there was a wall inside my head, and something was on the other side. At first, it was just noise, a low murmur, unclear, blended together, but it kept coming back, night after night. A little clearer each time. And then I realized something. It wasn't one voice. It was many, a crowd, whispering, talking over each other, like I was standing outside a closed room, trying to listen through the door. I couldn't understand the words, not yet, but I knew what it was. People. And strangely, when I focused on it, the pain faded, just a little. So I started listening, really listening, holding my breath, staying completely still. And one night I sat down at the desk, took a pen, and began to write. At first it made no sense. Fragments, broken words, nonsense. But I kept going. Every time the voices returned, I wrote. Days passed, weeks, and slowly the noise became language. Words started repeating, names, phrases, sentences. It wasn't random anymore. It was a story. One voice stood out, a calm male voice, measured, steady. He dictated and I wrote. Then he disappeared, and another voice replaced him. A woman, sharp, emotional, almost hysterical. She read poetry, and I wrote it too. Then an old man, rough voice, slow, heavy. Every voice had something to say, and I wrote everything. Eventually, I sent it to my editor, and he loved it. Said it was the best thing I've ever written. My book started selling. For the first time in my life, people noticed me. And sometimes I threw food sleeping. Are these really mine? But I always answered the same way. Of course they are. One night, something changed. I was writing, listening to one of the voices, and I got thirsty. So I stood up, walked away from the desk, and the voice stopped. Just stopped, mid-sentence. And then it spoke again. But this time, it wasn't telling a story. It was talking to me. Listen, listen. I froze, went back to the desk, picked up the pen, and waited. The voice softened, satisfied, and continued. That was the first time I felt afraid, because I understood something. They knew I was there. The wall was getting thinner. Before, they felt distant, muted. Now they were closer, clearer, too clear. They started talking faster. I couldn't keep up. Words overlapped. Sentences broke. If I slowed down, they got angry. If I stopped writing, the pain came back, worse than ever. So I kept going. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating. I didn't think anymore. Not really. There were no thoughts in my head, only them. Demanding, rushing, pushing. It felt like They were right there, just behind something thin, like a layer, like skin, just one step away. One night the pain became unbearable. I called an ambulance. When I woke up, I was in a hospital. The doctor looked at me, paused, and said, "Brain cancer, late stage, inoperable." I didn't care, because even there I could still hear them, far away but still there. I went home. My editor kept calling, telling me I was a genius, that I had to keep writing, so I did. No thinking, no questioning, just writing everything. And then one day it stopped. No voices, no pain, nothing. I was walking through darkness. No walls, no room, nobody. Just steps, echoing. And then I saw them. People standing by a wall, whispering, crying, speaking all at once. Some pressed against it, some begging, some listening. I walked closer, placed my hand on the wall, and I felt it, warm, alive. So I began to speak my story, from the beginning to the end, and I know someone is listening.